And now I have the honor to present the degree Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, Anita Hill.
With her unflinching, courageous testimony before the 1991 Senate Judiciary Committee's televised hearings on the confirmation of Clarence Thomas for the Supreme Court of the United States, Anita Hill stepped from a highly accomplished private life into the very public, white-hot center of an intense national debate about how men and women relate to each other in the workplace. She may not have won the battle then, but 27 years later, she and those who fought with her and those whom she inspired have turned the tide. The great-granddaughter and granddaughter of slaves and the youngest of 13 children growing up on a farm in Oklahoma, Anita Hill received her JD from Yale Law School in 1980. She began her career in private practice in Washington, D.C. There, she also worked at the U.S. Education Department and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. In 1989, Professor Hill became the first African American to be tenured at the University of Oklahoma College of Law, where she taught contracts and commercial law. Currently at Brandeis University, she teaches courses on gender, race, social policy, and legal history. As counsel to Cohen Milstein, she advises on class action workplace discrimination cases. In 1995, Professor Hill co-edited Race, Gender, and Power in America, The Legacy of the Hill-Thomas Hearings, with Emma Coleman Jordan. In 1997, she published her autobiography, Speaking Truth to Power. Her latest book, Reimagining Equality, Stories of Gender, Race, and Finding Home, is an analysis of the housing market collapse of 2008 and its impact on gender and racial equality. Professor Hill adds this work to numerous other publications on subjects ranging from bankruptcy to equal educational opportunity. In addition, Professor Hill engages prominent professionals all over the country to spearhead the Gender Race Imperative, a project to revive awareness of the broad capacity of Title IX, the crucial law mandating equal education opportunities for women. In collaboration with artist Mark Bradford in his 2017 Venice Biennale, Anita Hill explored contemporary art as a gateway to our understanding of the legal and policy challenges present in today's civil and gender rights movements. Professor Hill is the recipient of numerous awards, grants, and honorary degrees. She chaired the Human Rights Law Committee of the International Bar Association and is a member of the Board of Directors of the National Women's Law Center and the Boston Area Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights. Last December, Professor Hill became the chair of the Hollywood entertainment industry's Commission to Eliminate Sexual Harassment and Advance Equality in the Workplace. In that role, she will establish a best practices and policies framework for addressing workplace abuses and discrimination and creating more equitable work environments throughout the industry. Anita Hill indeed speaks truth to power. At a time when sexual harassment was seen, if it was seen at all, as a private pain, her towering courage made us see that it was a matter of human and civil rights. Professor Hill is a civil rights leader of historic national importance, and the City College of New York is fiercely proud to confer upon her the degree Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa.
Anita Hill, by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of the City University of New York, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa. Congratulations.
Good morning. First, of course, I have to congratulate this graduating class, as well as my fellow honoree, Dr. Moskowitz. And I know years, yes, let's hear it for Dr. Moskowitz. Years of hard work got you here today. And so I want you all to savor this moment. Just savor this day, because you earned it. You earned our applause, you earned our congratulations, and you earned that degree that you came here to get. So President Boudreau, faculty, members of the board, and staff and of City College who have made this singular recognition possible, I thank you. I proudly accept this honorary degree and the privilege of addressing this class of 2018. Now, I know you're ready to get your diploma, and I also know from my own experience that you probably won't remember much about graduation day, certainly not about my speech, but because I don't really even remember who the speakers were from my college graduation. But I do remember my favorite gift. So that gift was a gift given to me by my mother on graduation. It was a set of new blue Samsonite luggage. And it's very impractical now. No one would carry it on an airplane, especially you couldn't get it in the overhead. The new luggage replaced a set of brown Samsonite suitcases that were given to me by a family friend, Mrs. Young. Now, Mrs. Young had also been, as well as a friend, she'd also been an English teacher to my older siblings in the segregated school system that 10 of my 12 siblings and brothers and sisters graduated from. Yes, I am that old. I am old enough to know what a segregated school system, segregated by law, looked like. And Mrs. Young, of course, being a teacher, was a revered member of our community. And so I was, of course, happy to receive a gift from her. But my mother received the gift with sort of mixed feelings. And so, for the entire time that I was in college, my mother saved S&H green stamps for the sole purpose of getting me my own luggage. Now, some of you are looking quizzically because you've never even heard of S&H green stamps. But as I often say, when there's a generational gap, Google it. They're kind of like little coupons that you get that you have to save a lot of to actually get something. My mother and Mrs. Young sent me off to law school with 2 sets of luggage. The older versions with years of wear and tear, and the wisdom that symbolized Mrs. Young. It also had her initials on it. And my new set of luggage had my own stick-on initials. Both were waiting to be filled with my own life experiences in a world that was going to be entirely different from my mother's and the English teachers. As you've been told, my mother was the youngest daughter of a man born just as slavery was drawing to an end. And my father, also the descendant of slaves, hoped that I would take with me something of what it meant to be an African-American woman growing up in a community of what was often called dirt farmers. And you can translate dirt farmers to mean that we never had much money. My parents expected me to travel, and they also wanted me to take something of that community with them, and I proudly do today. They thought that I would go out in the world, but honestly, they could not have dreamed that I would be here at this great university, in this great city, receiving my honorary degree with this great class. And like you, I am the descendant of immigrants, forced immigrants. And no, their enslavement was not a choice. So you may not remember speakers, the names, or the words. You may not remember that I grew up in Lone Tree, Oklahoma. But please remember this. Please remember that I am a female descendant of slaves, that I am a farmer from Oklahoma, that I am a former student and a graduate, and that I am a teacher of 33 years. And because of all of these things, I am a lifelong advocate for equality. And I do believe that you are going to remember this day and also the times that you lived in through your college years. There are events that have marked it that will be seared in your memory. Now, you're going to hear today that you're going to leave college now and you're going to go off into the real world, right? You probably already heard that before. People tell you, oh, you're going to college now, but now you're going to have to go out in the real world. Well, let me tell you this. You have already been in the real world, and you are ready to take the next step. This is the real world, folks. And what makes it so real is really some of the hard times. As familiar as news reports of the violence and dislocation of war from abroad are, the stories that you have dealt with and that have shaped your life in your time at City College are stories also that are too familiar. Stories of universities, high school and junior high school campuses ripped apart by shootings. In 2018, an average of one school shooting occurs every week. It is, of course, as someone has already referred to, a time of great social and political uncertainty, and some would even call it crisis. And let me just say what I mean by uncertainty. Specifically, in your time on campus, the U.S. Supreme Court has declared that same-sex marriage bans are unconstitutional. But at the same time, we've seen a rise in hate crimes and the introduction of so-called bathroom bills in this country. And you wonder, who speaks for America? The laws, our Supreme Court, or those who would divide us? And frankly, now this is, I know we're not supposed to do political speeches, right? No. Oh, we can? Oh, good. but let me just say it. Frankly, to characterize movement from Barack Obama presidency to a Donald Trump presidency, to call this astonishing is an understatement. I don't care what party you're in. And so it is almost as though we're whipsawed. It's almost as though we're, our heads are spinning to try to figure out what this country is about. So those are the external factors that I think are shaping your experience today. Those are the things that you're reading about in the newspaper, but some of the hardships of being a student in 2018 aren't going to make the newspapers. For some, they are personal, deeply personal, and they too have tested your resolve. They have caused you to question your commitment. They challenge your concentration. You've had relationships that have gone sour during your time at college. Maybe not. You had required courses that you absolutely hated. maybe not. But you've also had other concerns. You've had concerns about your parents' or grandparents' well-being. It might be physical or health concerns, maybe financial concerns. And yes, some of you have your own children's health or child care challenges. Then there are the tougher issues facing students that make all of us uncomfortable, especially those of us who are in higher education. Problems of food and housing insecurity and homelessness among the student body. And those are just examples. And sadly, as a teacher, I have watched students face marginalization due to a whole range of isms. Some intentional, and some just thoughtless. I've seen young people struggle to prove that they belonged on college campuses despite their proven capacities for learning. And it is disappointing and disturbing when that happens. But it is real, and it is part of the student experience of far too many students. Because of age, class, language, students are made to feel less. In all of these, we know as a nation that we need to do better by our education system, by our students. We need to provide more scholars. We need to provide lower tuition, and you are fortunate that this city university has taken that demand seriously. But we also need support services. Scholarships can get us in to school, but those services help us get through and get to this day to get your degrees. We all need to commit more to public resources to education. Yet, in 2017, as many as 22 states had reduced public resources to education. And some fall below amounts offered during the 2008 recession. And unfortunately, many of those choices are made not because of quality of education, but because of politics. And educational systems become the grounds for political battles. And all of us suffer. But you at City College, you graduates, stayed the course at times when events of the world and when real-world personal problems challenge your concentration and maybe your commitment to your education. And as I've heard before, you supported each other as peers. You went to mentors and caring professionals here on campus and friends and family off campus who helped you with all kinds of resources. And some of it was just emotional and some of it was financial. And when you weren't sure about yourself, you sought help. Help that would enable you to see your possibilities and assured you that demographics and other people's prejudices do not define you or your destiny. And perhaps you weren't burdened with tens of thousands of dollars of school debts, but so many others are. And so I say, you know, we hear a lot of talk about the greatest generation. When I look out at you, now the greatest generation has been described as the World War II generation from the 20th century. When I look out at this class of 2018, I see the greatest generation of the 21st century sitting right here in front of me. And I want you to look around at your peers and acknowledge that you are the greatest generation of our time. I look out and I see tenacity, and I see resilience, and I see joy in learning, and I see joy in getting to this day that you will share with your family and your friends. You overcame roadblocks to arrive here. Relish this moment, and when times get tough, think back on this day and believe that you can overcome obstacles that you are going to see in the future, and you will achieve your goals. But your generation of college grads did more than get degrees. You engaged in activism. During your time here, you have seen students from across the country, from Charlottesville, Virginia, to Columbia, Missouri, to my own school, to Brandeis University, here on your own campus at City College, and really at 100 campuses across the country. Students protested for racial inclusion, demanding changes in content and in the culture of our campuses, and everybody benefits when those demands are heard. Sometimes these requests were ignored, but students kept standing. Not only did they change the campuses, but you have changed the world. You've gone and made it much more inclusive. And you have advanced knowledge because of your activism. At the same time, students of all genders organized to end campus sexual assault and harassment and made their campuses safer for everyone. In these times of great change come great opportunities to reinvest in gender equality. Basics like safety from violence should not be up for debate. Time's up. Time's up for 1 in every 4 undergraduate woman having to face the reality that sexual assault will occur. And she will be the victim. Time's up for that. We are better than that. We are a better community than that, and we must acknowledge that this day. Now, I've been teaching for 33 years, as I said, and I have never seen more energized students who are more committed to change. And some will chalk that engagement up to Twitter or the internet. For me, these are only platforms. I attribute today's campus engagement and activism as an enduring desire for community. Community within and community outside of your campus walls. When you protest mass incarceration, when you protest for better labor conditions for farm workers, you are engaging in reaching out and building a broad community. Together, today's campus activists are breathing new life into the words that Dr. Martin Luther King penned in 1963 from a Birmingham jail. And he wrote this just a few weeks before he gave the City College commencement address. Dr. King reminded us that we are all of us, are caught up in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Martin Luther King's warning that injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere is just as critical today, maybe even more critical than you have ever seen before, because we live in a time when divisiveness and isolation pose as solutions to our pressing problems, when in fact, isolation and divisiveness is the cause of our social problems. "55 years ago in 1963, when Dr. King spoke at the commencement of City College, 55 years ago, and I am proud to stand at this podium today, 55 years later. He spoke of three evils: war, economic inequality, and racial inequality, the three evils that he talked about. Sadly, it's almost as though we did not hear his words. But much has changed since then, and you will bring in the tools into the world to change even further. Now, we don't know what will happen in these challenging times, but history does teach us if we don't commit our hearts and our minds to dream a better world, we are likely to be stuck where we are, and we cannot let that happen. So, I want you to just take a little trip with me, imagining a few scenarios. And I know I've got some artists right here in front. Yes? So for the people in the arts, I want you to imagine that you will write, produce, or direct an award-winning Broadway musical about the life of a courageous early American leader. Now you say, that's been done already. But I'm not talking about Alexander Hamilton. But let's say I'm talking about Harriet Tubman. She liberated herself from slavery and became an Underground Railroad conductor, a nurse in the Union Army, and years later, an advocate for women's suffrage, proving a lifelong commitment to freedom and equality. And what could be more the ideal of America than Harriet Tubman? Which is why she has earned that musical that is yet to be written, and why her picture should be on the $20 bill. And maybe this generation will make sure that happens too. Some of you are going to be going into business, though. Do I have some business majors over here? Yes, okay. They're not as loud as the arts majors. Maybe you'll be even going into finance. Okay. Imagine with me, all U.S. banks are rebranding themselves and revising their practices. And included in the C-suite offices and on the boards are people whose communities were devastated by the 2008 financial crisis, and individual students who are burdened with massive amounts of student loan debts. And at the top of their agenda, in their rebranding and revision, at the top of the agenda is the development of loan forgiveness policies and partnerships to restore cities and communities and institutions like public colleges still suffering from the recession. Finally, imagine a United States House and Senate led by members of the Me Too movement, poised to put into law strong measures to protect people on campuses and military, government, and private industry workforces against sexual harassment and sexual assault. We didn't finish the work that was started in 1991. And it was said earlier that I did not win my challenge, but I did not leave Washington, D.C. a loser. I continued to battle, and this day is possible because of many people who battled with me. We didn't finish the work in 1991, but we can finish it today. Now, those are just a few of my dreams of a better world. Those are just for starters. You have your own dreams, and I even imagine that they are better than my own. Today, each of you will leave here with a diploma, and it's going to look just like many other diplomas that you're going to see, but it's going to bear your name. Your diploma is different. It's not just a piece of paper that you can hang up on the wall. Your diploma is a treasure. Your diploma, like my luggage, symbolizes your City College education, the tools and the resources that got you through hard times, and those you will use to achieve your aspirations. Though most of you will not pursue a career in social justice or in a social justice field, you can pursue social justice every day. It can guide you on how you treat your colleagues at work and how you treat those in the community that do not have the privileges that you enjoy. For all of the classroom lessons and the real-life experience of the past few years, we can never be the same. We cannot go backwards to the days when we denied the universal harm of inequality. We cannot go back to the days when we denied that sexual violence was a part of our culture and that it has injured every one of us as members. Class of 2018, friends, family, supporters, all of you who have helped us to get to this day, everyone in the City College community, I submit that we cannot go backward, that the only way is forward. And I ask you to join me with an unwavering and boundless commitment to a more just and inclusive society for today and forever. And I ask you to continue to support